Welcome to the voice of St. Anthony Parish from Allston, Massachusetts, right here on WROL 950 AM 100.3 FM. And you can also hear us at CatholicAudiomedia.com. That's CatholicAudiomedia.com, where you will find us every single Monday through Friday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Actually, at 3:16, we're on the radio at 3 o'clock, and then at 3:16 it appears at CatholicAudiomedia.com and your favorite podcast platform. Just look for Catholic Audio Media, all one word, or except on Spotify, it's 3 words, and then scroll through the results until you see the voice of... You know, one of the things that I teach here at the parish is that we need to be focused on our role and mission. That means of being witnesses to the gospel, which is why I'm so hot on this concept of being people who focus on prayer and relationship, focusing on prayer, our relationship, more than focusing on the rules. Because when you are in prayer and seeking to do the will of God in your prayer relationship with God, there with Jesus Christ, there you're going to become more of a witness. But if you're focused on, well, I have to follow the rules, and this is the rule I have to follow, and I have to do this, that, and the other thing, then you're not focused on being a witness, you're focused on following rules. And that is not what we're called to do. Obviously, the rules we're called to follow, but within the context of we are witnesses. And in light of that, because everything is a relationship, we're called to be people who are in relationship with Christ, who are doing the will of God because of our prayer life. And that means we work it out, as I've said here before, as a partnership. So we are partners with God as opposed to subjects of God. Remember something that Jesus taught, and that was, I no longer call you slaves, but friends, because we are in partnership. We're in a relationship. We're in partnership with Christ. And if we understand it that way, then that's where our mission is, in fact, to do what Christ calls us to do, which is to be servants of Christ as witnesses. Now, one of the major differences you can see in this is there is this old image of the church, and I'm one who teaches against it, but this old image of the church, that you have the bishops, the priests, even the religious, which would be the brothers, the religious brothers or the religious sisters or nuns. There is a difference between a sister, by the way, and a nun. I've been told the difference. I'm not sure. I think a nun tends to be more in a contemplative order, and a sister is more in a serving order. So if you were taught in school by sisters, that would be a serving order. Whereas, and maybe I have this wrong. Whereas if you were speaking to a woman religious who was in a contemplative order, which means she would most likely be in a monastery and probably wouldn't see her that much, that would be a nun, as I understand the difference between the two. And I might have that wrong, and if I do, let me know. Send me a note and say, you're wrong there, Father. But in any case, where there was that image that we're called, that the priests, the bishops, the religious brothers and sisters, nuns, are called, friars and monks, are called to be are called to drive the bus. And all the lay people are on the bus. And we're all on the way to heaven, so the lay people are just to sit there on the bus and wait until the bus arrives in heaven. That is not what Christ called us to, and many people have that image worldwide. That is not what Christ called us to. He called us to be people who are active in the faith prayerfully. In other words, we begin with our prayer and we follow along with where the Lord is calling us to act. That's what we're called to do. If you get lost in the idea that all we're supposed to do is follow rules, that's it, nothing more, you will never be a witness of the gospel, because you're called to be witnesses. The rules are easy to follow, But things become difficult when you choose to live the gospel and find that the rules don't apply for so much of your daily life. Classic one people brought to me all the time, and that is, do I give money to someone who's begging on the street? Well, there is no rule that says you have to give money or not. That's strictly up to what you feel in your heart. I always suggest if you give it to an agency, then the agency can serve that person better than you can. But that's literally a choice that you make depending on your prayer relationship with God and what do you think is the best thing to do. Or find out something else. Many times the people who are begging on the street are actually looking for, besides maybe a couple dollars, someone to speak to. And that's an important consideration as well. We're going to talk more on the other side of the break. You're listening to the voice of St. Anthony Parish in Alston. Life can be challenging, but amidst the trials and tribulations, there is wisdom to be found. Welcome to Sirach 2, a chapter filled with timeless guidance and insights from the book of Sirach. In this chapter, we learn the importance of remaining steadfast in our faith, even in the face of adversity. It teaches us to be patient, for trials can shape our character and lead to spiritual growth. Seeking wisdom and understanding is of utmost importance. Sirach 2 reminds us to study the teachings of the wise, be open to correction, and follow God's commandments. By doing so, we can find true fulfillment and blessings. Don't be discouraged by the temporary prosperity of the wicked or the challenges you may face. Trust in God's justice, for He rewards those who diligently seek Him. Join us on this journey of faith as we discover the path to a meaningful and fulfilling life. Sirach 2 is your roadmap to wisdom, patience, and eternal blessings. Read Sirach 2 and let its timeless wisdom guide you through life's ups and downs. Available now in the book of Sirach, part of the Old Testament. Brought to you by the voice of St. Anthony Parish in Alston. We're back, and we're talking about that understanding of being witnesses in the gospel. Witnesses to the gospel, rather. And so what I'm speaking to you about is understand that's why prayer is so important. If all your focus is on rules, you will never be a witness, and this is what I said. So many of the ways that we're called to be witnesses to the gospel are things that happen in our daily life, and there's no rules. And that's why we want to respond in the way that glorifies God in the best possible way. So that's what we're called to do. Because if you choose just to live the rules of the faith, that's all you want. You're going to live the rules perfectly. And one of the things I always teach that's really important is if you live the rules of the faith perfectly, of Catholicism perfectly, you will have lived perfectly the minimum standard of Catholicism. And the example I show on that is if you ask people how often they must receive communion as Catholics, and it is once a year. Just once a year, that's it. And how often must they go to confession? You're encouraged to go. Obviously, you're encouraged to receive communion as often as possible, at least, as often as you can, providing you are receiving within the state of grace. But maybe once a week, or maybe some people go every day. But that is a practice you can do, but you're only required to do it once a year. Well, when are you required to go to confession? You're required to go to confession if and when you have committed a mortal sin. So these two things are an essential part of understanding that if you follow those rules, you will be living the minimum standard of Catholicism. And that's just two examples. But the fact is, we're called to receive communion much more often than once. We're invited to receive communion much more often than once a year. We're invited to go to confession much more often than only when necessary. These are two of the aspects. Well, that goes for everything we do. You may not be required to do something that may confront you in your daily life, but your prayer life may tell you to do something else. Maybe I can give you another example too. When I go on vacation, I always bring in my prayer, inviting not only the Lord, but asking my guardian angels, which to guide me during this time, during my vacation, to protect me from going down the wrong path, because I'm not in my normal setting. Well, these are things that there is no rule that says I have to do that, but it's something that I do to make sure that I continue my witness. So do you see what I'm saying? These are all essential aspects of what it means to live the gospel. But if you're focused just on the rules, you will not live to that standard. You'll live to this very basic minimalist standard of, well, I'm following the rules, which is one of the issues that we deal with when we're dealing with the media, because the media doesn't understand any of that. And so when the AP was often saying, it's the role of the layperson to pay, pray, and obey, they didn't understand Catholicism, and they don't today understand Catholicism at all, and they would print that because they would understand it as this basic living by the rules. That's not what we're called to do. It's always that good balance between relationship and rules, and relationship is key. You cannot live the rules properly without having a deep relationship with Christ. So that is key. And this is something the media just does not have a clue. Someone in the media want to call me up and say, that's not true. I'll go, yeah, it is. They just don't have a clue. So we're called to have this deep relationship with Christ and to act on it. That's how we're called to follow the rules. We'll be back on Monday. Have a blessed day. I want to call your attention to Catholic TV, which offers great faith-filled, family-friendly programming 24 hours a day. You can find your cable channel at www.getcatholictv.com, and you can watch online on the free apps or check out the YouTube channel. Daily Mass, Rosaries, the Divine Mercy Chaplet, and the Our Lady of Perpetual Help Novena are all available online and on demand. Check out CatholicTV.com. If you're searching for a meaningful spiritual experience, look no further than St. Anthony's Parish in Allston, Massachusetts. Join us at 43 Holton Street in between Soldiers Field Road and the Mass Pike. Immerse yourself in the complete St. Anthony's Parish encounter through our 10 o'clock a.m. chanted Mass. Whether you're a Catholic seeking a parish to call home or someone looking for spiritual guidance, our welcoming community is here for you. Visit our website at www.stanthonyalston.org for more information. St. Anthony's Parish, where faith finds a home.